I want to talk about eminent domain and this issue in New Jersey with this farm that is now getting national attention. And the Secretary of Agriculture, Brooke Rollins, is involved in this too. This comes an anniversary of another Supreme Court decision called Kelo, where, it's funny. Not funny. It's tragic what happened here. The Supreme Court ruled that the government can use the power of eminent domain to take your property if they can find a business development use for it, blah, 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 blah. Kelo was one of the worst Supreme Court decisions ever made. And John Stossel pointing out that 20 years later, 20 years after Kelo, after it happened, when the government seized her house, that project never happened. So the ruling stands, the project never happened. And the ramifications of Kelo still are with us today, where the government can say, well, we're seizing your private property for economic use, or in the case of what's happening in New Jersey now, for affordable housing. And I'm using air quotes here for affordable housing. If you are watching right now, you'll see air quotes. So this is what I'm talking about here. And so the good news is that both future Governor Jack Ciattarelli, and Secretary Brooke Rollins, Secretary of Agriculture Brooke Rollins, are now reaching out to the farm to help them. We hope to have the family on the show. We're working to get them on the show, but it's Cranbury, New Jersey, which some would call Central Jersey, except there's no such place. So we're going to call it North Jersey. But what happened recently with this story, and it went viral, and it was a couple weeks ago that it first came to my attention. I actually sent it to Ciattarelli's campaign and said, hey, he should go out there and he should do a press conference on this, because this is just insane what they're doing. The family has had this farm in their family for 175 years. Andy Henry, the owner of the family's farm on South River Road in Cranbury, said he has no intention of selling the land and plans to fight the township's plan to take it by eminent domain. He said the farm, this is from NJ.com, the farm represents exactly what this town prides itself on. His great-grandfather bought the land in 1850. It is open space, rich history, and a farmhouse. We just want to keep the farm in our family. Despite objections from dozens of residents, the Cranbury Township Committee voted earlier this month to approve a plan to acquire the Henry family farm to meet state-mandated affordable housing requirements. Henry and his brother Christopher, who co-own the property, grew up in Cranbury but now live in New Mexico. They visit regularly to check on the farm, which is run by a local tenant who raises sheep and cattle. The 21-acre tract of land has been in the family for generations, and the brothers took full ownership about 12 years ago. Since then, they put more than $200,000 into maintaining the land. The two-story White House on the property was built by the family. The original home burned down around 1878, but neighbors stepped in to help rebuild it. It was remodeled in 1958 when Henry and his parents started living there. Now, it's located between the New Jersey Turnpike and Route 130. It has been targeted by warehouse developers for more than 30 years. And, I'm surprised. First of all, technically speaking, under Kelo, the town could have condemned the land and seized it under eminent domain to make way for warehouses. They could have done that because of the stupid ruling in Kelo. But they didn't do that for that purpose. Instead, what they've decided to do is they've decided to now seize it under eminent domain to build affordable housing. But they had all these offers over the years, they said. They had offers from, they don't name the companies, but I'm going to guess Amazon probably. Amazon's been building these gigantic warehouse distribution centers, and they want access to the Jersey Turnpike, 95. They want access to all these routes. That 130 corridor, I don't know if you're familiar with that or not in South Jersey, but it goes basically from the end of Camden to, all the way up past Trenton and keeps going. And there's several different ways to connect to the New Jersey Turnpike there. And from there, you can get anywhere. You can get anywhere you want. And so you see as you drive up the Turnpike nowadays, or if you drive on 130 in parts of like Burlington County, New Jersey, for example, you see these massive distribution facilities. Because how do you think all that crap you buy on Amazon is going to get to you in an hour? Or a day or two? It's going to get to you because they're able to get it onto a truck and then get it onto a smaller truck and get it to you in same day delivery, right? So the family could have sold out at any point. They didn't want to. They wanted to keep this farm in the family. They wanted to resist that, of which we should all say, good for you. I mean, that's great. Wonderful. Farms are beautiful. Farmland's great. And, we love farmers, real farmers, not fake farmers like Bruce Springsteen and Bon Jovi, but real farmers, and good. And we don't, but they could have taken the money. They could have taken the cash. They didn't. The town theoretically could have come in under Kelo and said, well, we think it'd be better for our business, for our economy, if we condemn your land, seize it under eminent domain, and allow Amazon to build a gigantic warehouse distribution facility here. They didn't do that either. Instead, now they're turning around and saying, well, the state of New Jersey is now mandating that we have to build our portion of affordable housing. High-density housing, which, of course, then we have to build, more roads and more facilities and probably more schools and maybe hire more cops and, everything that goes along with it. This is going to be, mark my words here, this will be the biggest issue in the governor's race going into the fall. The top three issues. But I really do believe this issue affects, everybody knows about this. It's happening. And we're talking, in some towns, it's hundreds of units. In some towns, it's thousands of units. It just depends on where. And because the idiot governor that we have in New Jersey, His Royal Rugness King Philip the Unaccountable, is hell-bent on ensuring that this happens. They're trying to get all this done now before Jack Ciattarelli gets elected in November. And then he said he's going to fight this, and he will fight this. And then he also gets to appoint 2 new Supreme Court justices who hopefully then can overturn the decision in Mount Laurel, New Jersey, which is the famous Mount Laurel decision, which mandated that every town has to have their fair share of quote-unquote affordable housing. So you see how these things are kind of interconnecting here? Kelo, the Supreme Court decision, and this family farm in Cranford. Okay, so back to the story, and our buddy Matt Rooney on NJ.com with an update on this. Rollins and Ciattarelli offer support to the endangered Cranbury, New Jersey family farm. Secretary of Agriculture Brooke Rollins put out the following tweet yesterday. And she said, I'm on the phone with Andy Henry of Cranbury, New Jersey. The city government has approved seizing his 175-year-old family farm via eminent domain for affordable housing units. Whether the Mauds, the Henrys, or others whom we will soon announce, the Biden-style government takeover of our family farms is over. While this particular case is a city eminent domain issue, we at the United States Department of Agriculture are exploring every legal option to help. And then she tweeted out a portal, usda.gov/lawfare, if this is happening to you, for example. Jack Ciattarelli retweeting that and saying, thank you, Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins. New Jersey Democrats are taking the garden right out of the Garden State. As governor, I'll end overdevelopment to protect our suburbs, farms, and open space. Where's Mikey Sherrill? She stood on the debate stage and said our suburbs are not overdeveloped and that they aren't developed enough. She's Phil Murphy 2.0. Our buddy Mike from Wake Up NJ, who's been all over this and terrific, and he's a smart guy too, man. He's working really hard. He actually made a video of what happens here as the family is now begging the town not to seize the 175-year-old land. The video went viral, and then it was actually picked up by the White House and picked up by the Secretary of Agriculture, and this is why Brooke Rollins got involved and why everybody's getting involved in this. I did mention this a couple weeks ago, but with everything that's been going on in the world, we've kind of, been talking about a lot of different things. So anyway, back in April, the brothers received a letter from the township stating that the property was being considered as a site to meet affordable housing requirements. If a deal can't be reached with the family to sell the property, the township could take the farm through eminent domain. Eminent domain allows the government to take private property even when the owner doesn't want to sell, if the site will be used for a public purpose. Okay, so let's go back to Kelo for a second here. Before the Kelo decision, it was always understood that eminent domain would be used for things like if the government had to, say, build a road, and then they had to take part of your property for a curb or something like that. There were very limited uses of what the government could do. But the main idea behind eminent domain prior to Kelo was it had to be for some public use, and there would be no other option. Like if you're going to build a highway and there's a house there and you have to seize the house because you can't build a highway without it, that sort of a thing. But not to build a a five and dime store, not to build a whatever, a Wawa. You know what I mean? Like you can't, the town can't come in, seize your property to build a Wawa. I love Wawa, and I'm not saying Wawa did this. I'm just saying, hypothetically speaking, it can't be something like that. Then Kelo happens. The woman's name was Suzette Kelo, and she lost at the Supreme Court because eminent domain now lets the politicians confiscate your property if they can say it's just for public use. It's all they have to say is public use. Politicians say they need the power to take property to build public projects like roads and railroad tracks, which seems reasonable. But developers collude with politicians to use the law unfairly to force people to give up their land for private projects, something that we've talked about for a lot of years. This woman, Suzette Kelo, lived in a small pink house in New London, Connecticut. Little pink house. New London, Connecticut. New London politicians decided to sell her land along with her neighbors to a private business called the New London Development Corporation. New London would then get development, they say, and the tax revenue they would bring in. Eminent domain law forces government to pay owners fair value for their property, but the bureaucrats decide what the value is. But it didn't matter. She didn't want the money. She wanted her home. She didn't want to sell. The Institute for Justice, our friends, great friends of ours, we've had them on the show many, many times over the years. The Institute for Justice, they do some of the best work in this area, fighting for private property rights. And they fought this case all the way to the Supreme Court. And they lost. 5-4 ruling. 5-4 ruling, allowing the city of New London, Connecticut to bulldoze the neighborhood. When John Stossel confronted the city's lawyer at the time, he said, politicians can kick you out of your home. The lawyer replied, is this serving an important public purpose? We say it is. New London said at the time the new development would raise tax revenue 20 years ago. So where's the tax revenue today? Well, the development never happened. The house is gone. The lot is there. It's still an empty lot. The only thing under construction, even near where her house was, is a government-funded recreation center that costs taxpayers money. According to the Institute for Justice, since Kelo v. New London, 47 states have strengthened their protections against eminent domain abuse, either through legislation or state Supreme Court decisions. Unfortunately, some places still allow it. Officials in the appropriately named town of Dolton, Illinois, proposed to use eminent domain law to take the new Pope's, the new Pope, his childhood home, from its current owners and turn it into a historic site. So they go, oh, well, the Pope grew up here, so now we're going to seize it and turn it into a historic site. In Toms River, New Jersey, the mayor plans to use eminent domain to seize a church in order to build, wait for it, pickleball courts. Right, pickleball courts. Georgia's government approved eminent domain to take parts of dozens of properties so it can build a private railroad that will serve just one rock quarry. Back to this issue in New Jersey, where this family is now fighting the town of Cranford, New Jersey, to try to stop them from taking their farm. Before unanimously approving the ordinance at a May 12th public meeting, members of the township committee said the decision does not bring them joy and was not made without serious consideration. Listen, losers, you should fight this every step of the way. The town should not feel, the town should just say, no, we're not doing this. We don't have the room for the affordable housing, and fight it and say, no, tell the state to go to hell. We don't have room. We don't have the room to build the affordable housing that you're telling us to build. So, go bug off. What they should not be doing is seizing a family farm to turn it into high density housing, which of course is going to lead to a strain on public services in every single way. It's also antithetical to the Constitution, to private property rights, to everything. In March of 2024, the township began what would become a year-long process to identify sites that could help meet the affordable housing requirements, according to the mayor, Lisa Neeram. By 2035, New Jersey towns must add or renovate over, ready for this? And this is why I say to you, this is going to be one of the biggest issues in the New Jersey governor's race, because obviously this issue is now getting national attention. You have the United States Secretary of Agriculture getting involved, which means the White House is going to get involved, which means this is a huge issue. Mikey Sherrill, as a member of Congress, has said not a friggin' word about this. Not about this farm. 146,000 affordable housing units. That's what New Jersey towns must add by the year 2035. 146,000 affordable housing units. By the way, there's nothing affordable about these things because they tend, what happens like anything else, whether it's rent controlled or something else, every person who understands economics will tell you that when the government puts in market caps, price controls, et cetera, then what happens is it drives up prices because that's the inevitable unintended consequence of that, because you have a scarcity problem. You either have homes that are then on the affordable housing end, of which case there are requirements to be able to purchase them or lease them, or then you have homes that are very, very expensive because there's no more homes for the middle class. So you have a tendency then to have really the other side of the tracks problem, where you've got the affordable housing issue, and then you've got the people that want to move into a town, can't afford a starter home because starter homes are now going for, $500,000 for like a 2-bed, 2-bath house in the burbs because there's no inventory. And because now you have affordable housing, the taxes have to go up to meet the needs of the services, so it becomes an economic disaster. So these guys, this family is now fighting this in New Jersey, which is good. I say that this town of Cranbury, I said Cranford, Cranbury, this is a disgrace. The requirements have sparked controversies, with some municipalities unsuccessfully suing the state over what they argue are unfair obligations. Well, they should sue. They should sue. Cranbury should sue as well. They say Cranbury must allow developers to add 265 affordable housing units over the next 10 years. And by June 30th, the township must submit its housing plan to the state. Don't do it. Don't do it. What are they going to do? How about this brave stand to the mayor of Cranbury? How about you say no, and you side with the farm, and you side with the people in your town who don't want this crap, and you say no. How about that? What's Murphy going to do? Arrest you? And get arrested. Get good publicity. Seems to work for the Democrats when they do it. I don't know what the political party of this mayor is, but I'm just saying the Democrats are getting arrested every friggin' day, trying to be grandstanders so that they can get arrested. Affordable housing criteria has changed dramatically, blah, 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 blah. Thus, the need for us to change how we identify properties. Just say no. They have to build, they've got to build sewer and water. They need proximity to mass transit. They need a 200-foot buffer from warehouse distribution centers. With very limited land west of Route 30 meeting the requirements, the pool of eligible properties was small, they said. Without an approved affordable housing plan in place, Cranbury officials said they fear a developer could sue the township. That could mean a builder's remedy lawsuit, which could give the township less control over what and where builders build. This is not where we want to be, but we're trying to do what's best for the town and get ahead of this. We're in a difficult position, said one of the township committeemen. Residents packed committee meetings to support the Henry family, with many echoing calls to consider other sites and questioning when the township will push back on the state-required housing mandates. And there's an online fundraiser to help the family with their legal fees. This isn't just a battle for one farm. It's a stand against a system that sees land as dollar signs instead of heritage. Let us show the township that Cranbury isn't for sale. Let's show Andy that his sacrifices and his love for this land means something. Timothy Dugan, an attorney representing Andy Henry, said the township's plan to seize the property goes against Cranbury's longstanding farmland preservation efforts. It could also place housing development in an industrial area. This town has a long farming tradition. Its historic district, which includes buildings from the 19th century, was originally created as a place to serve local farmers and the agriculture industry. Over the years, the township has preserved over 2,000 acres of farmland. However, much of the area where the Henry farm is located has been developed for warehouses. This affordable housing is going to be by itself, surrounded by warehouses. How is that a good decision? And how is that fair to the low-income people who are going to live there? Matt, did we get a confirmation from them on Friday for what time they can come on the show?
I don't believe we have a time confirmed yet, but we should have one by the end of the day.
All right, good. Excellent. There are 160 towns in New Jersey that are fighting this affordable housing nonsense, which I've told you again is going to become a huge issue. So back to Secretary Brooke Rollins. So she's the United States Secretary of Agriculture, and she's offering her support. She was literally on the phone with Andy Henry of Highland Ranch in Cranbury, New Jersey, and they're going to do everything that they can on their side to do it to try to protect this. And good. And the point here, I think, is twofold. Number one, Kelo was a disastrous decision on the national level, giving government more powers to seize property for quote unquote public use. That disgrace and that development, that business development was never built. Outrageous. The idea that the government can come in and say, we're taking your house because we want to build a Walmart, a CVS, whatever, because we think it's better for the town. It's outrageous. Number two, the local decision in this Mount Laurel saying you have to have this affordable housing. And now you have these things intersecting. So now the town says under Kelo, it has the right to condemn and seize this farm under eminent domain, which theoretically speaking, it does because of the Supreme Court's horrific decision in Kelo. And I don't know what power the federal government has here. I know that if we had a Republican governor, this would not be happening. And I know that the president and the Secretary of Agriculture are going to try to do everything they possibly can to get involved here to save this farm. And it's going to become a huge campaign issue because it represents everything that's wrong with Democrat leadership. It's leadership's the wrong word. Democrat control of everything because they hate private property rights. They hate it. They don't like capitalism. They hate it. They want quote unquote affordable housing, high density housing. They love that. They want to turn every town, every suburb, every village into a city. They do. That's their whole plan. They've always had that plan. They're not secret about it. All their plans, their 15-minute cities and all their nonsense. They want all those things too. And all these things are colliding right now in this 175-year-old family farm in New Jersey. The epicenter of local, national, state, federal, all colliding here on a collision course. We'll do our part to help. I know Jack Ciattarelli will do his part. I know Secretary Brooke Rollins will do her part. I know you'll do your part. We'll all do our part to help. But man, the fact that we're even having this conversation right now is actually, in some ways, a good thing that it's happening now. Because if it wasn't happening now, it would not become such an issue as we head into the New Jersey governor's race this fall. Because make no mistake about it, there's going to be a decision point for people in New Jersey. Do you want to have another 150,000 units of affordable housing built in your communities, whether you like it or not, and all the services and all the increases and everything else that has to go along with it? Yes or no? Simple choice to make. You vote Democrat, that's what you're getting. You vote Republican, that's what you're not getting. You're not getting that. Simple choice to make.